Okay, let's go. I'm going to tell you the bear story one more time. The bears in West Yellowstone. Everybody knows where, yes, the biggest national park in the country is, right? You guys all know where West Yellowstone is. So, West Yellowstone is a national park. It was the first national park ever erected, and people have been going there for years and years and years. But at the time, back in the 20s and 30s, the people started feeding the bears, and the bears stopped being bears. They were doing tricks like claps and doing crazy shit, and they became domesticated. Some of the bears got aggressive if the people wouldn't give them food, but the bears stopped foraging, they stopped hunting, they stopped being bears, and the National Park Service realized, what have we created? We've created some domesticated zoo animals that are out in the wild. We have to stop. And so then they made a rule that you could not feed the bears. And as you can be just imagine, the bears were very aggressive with people. They started attacking people. They had to euthanize majority of those bears. And the bears eventually ended up through generations, a few generations later. Now the bears are being bears. They're hunting, gathering, and foraging like bears should do. So bears are hunters and gatherers, right? And so I compare leads to being a domesticated bear. You're no longer a hunter, you're just waiting for the food to be handed to you. And so we have an influx of leads. I have an outside guy that I brought in that just runs company leads that I'm going to assign a lot of these leads to. I was not intending on running these leads all myself. It was exclusively for this guy, and just had a couple speed bumps on the way. So, but you can expect to get a couple leads, but I don't want the leads to take away from you guys being bears. I know that I've seen so many people be domesticated, including myself at one time when the company was giving me a bunch of fucking leads. And I became domesticated. I stopped knocking doors as much. I stopped running a team because I was so busy running leads. And at the end of the day, the leads are sold to you guys for, I think it's a 50-50 split, but typically I'm selling the leads to this guy for $3 a watt. So he has to charge over $3 a watt to make any sort of money. So at the end of the day, it's less money. It domesticates you, and it's the only intention on having the leads here is to just supplement your current production with your actual production. So it's to supplement your current production and to be able to get you guys to the higher tier bonus. So that being said, just expect, I think, Kevin, you're running one today out in Buckeye, right? So these are high quality leads.
Thank
I
you.
closed a very challenging one this week. It was a fucking hard ass deal because the guy had solar and batteries. I had to convince the guy to get rid of his existing batteries, which he's doing, and take on the new battery and a solar system. This was a very complex sell, and but he was open to it. So just be prepared for some of these leads to come through the pipeline, but I don't want it to stop you guys from being hunters. You guys got to continue to be hunters. The only way to actually scale a business is by building out a team and being able to be a self-gener. You might make seven figures if you're running appointments, but there's no way that you're going to scale and actually become the person that you're meant to be by running appointments. That doesn't work. I've seen tons of people run appointments, and usually they're just soft and they can't knock doors. They don't want to knock doors. And that's okay too. There's a specific type of person, but that's not who we are. We're hunters. So, anyways, that being said, that's the preamble. I'm going to do little tidbits of the training that I have planned to sell to people, and a lot of this stuff is going to be redundant. We've done this stuff before, but it's always going to be a good reminder course for you guys. So today we're going to talk about customer design, right? So the customer design. You guys all remember when uh, William came and he gave us a badass training that he came into the office and he sat with us for, I don't know, 3 hours or something like that. It was a very long session. But what he was talking about is well-formed outcomes. And then he talked about designing our customer base. So recently I've realized that I have certainly not designed my customer base. Hence, I was in a home for 3.5 hours last night. Last week I was in a home for three something hours with Josh. And these are fucking painful. I am emotionally fatigued at the end. I just want to go to sleep, dude. I'm drowning. The lady last night had been drinking wine and she was like entering in the conversation and leaving. And that is not my ideal customer base. Did they move forward? Yes. But did it take me 3.5 hours? Yes, it did. They already had an existing solar system. I didn't even make that much money. But it's that insatiable desire to win that no matter what, I'm not going to walk away from a deal. I just want to win. It's not about the monetary value. It's I want to win. But if I'm going to design my customer base, I'm not going to design my customer base. It's going to take me 3.5 hours and I'm going to get 50 different objections. Like that's not the ideal customer base. So if we're thinking about this, this is a little bit of a problem frame because right now I'm experiencing a problem frame. And every once in a while, it's okay to dip into a problem frame and see, well, what's going on? How am I attracting this into my life? And at the end of the day, somehow something inside of me wanted to attract these particular customers in to sit with. Maybe it's because I'm just over sitting with these people. It's a good reminder to be able to actually design my customer base. I know that you guys have all done this, but I wonder how many of you guys are still looking at your customer base. So a well-formed outcome is going to be designing, okay, what do we want? What is it that we want? If we're doing solar right now, let's contextualize this into the solar application. For doing solar right now, what is it that we're trying to achieve by going solar? Are we making more money? Are we building more teams? Are we building people up? Are we building a legacy? Like, are we trying to create financial wealth and abundance? Are we creating what are we trying to do at this? And so the first thing is the bigger picture. This is going to be macro, not micro. What are we trying to do right now in our lives? What is this what is the intentional purpose? And so remembering the bigger outcome, what is the bigger outcome that we're trying to achieve? Well, I'm trying to create leaders upon leaders upon leaders, leaders that lead leaders. I'm trying to make a massive impact. I'm trying to create legacy. I'm trying to build wealth while I'm trying to do all these things, but I'm trying to build all you guys up. This is my macro picture, right? So now let's drill down and let's chunk down into micro picture. So in the process of doing this, I want to be able to attract you guys. You guys are part of my design. Literally, I've designed each one of you to come into my life and someone that I could build up. So there's 25 characteristics that I was looking for, and all of you guys exhibit these 25 characteristics. Hence, you guys are still with me. Some of you guys have been with me, and a few of you guys are going to come up on another year. So like I designed this. But before I was able to design, I just got what life gave me because unconscious patterns dictated what I was going to receive. So I haven't always been able to design my life, and there's compartments of my life that I'm still not designing, and I'm just getting whatever these unconscious programs that are running in through my mind. So what we want to do is we want to create intention about our lives. We want to create a well-formed outcome and a blueprint of exactly what we want to receive. And so the best way to do that is going to be to chunk down and get into the characteristics of our customers, or maybe the recruits that you attract into your life, maybe something that will make you a better person, maybe something that will at least help you further along your macro outcome, and then also be able to have the micro outcomes that will lead you to the macro outcome. So the one thing that we want to do is if you're out there in the field selling solar and knocking on doors, what do we want? What kind of customer is your ideal customer? Like, what is the ideal customer for each one of us? And each one of you guys probably resonates a little bit more with people with your personality types. It's much easier. For me, I love bulls. This is my go-to. I love dealing with them. I love talking to them. That's my personality. So I am most comfortable conversating with bulls. Those are going to be my most common the guy. And so my customer base is like someone that makes quick decisions, someone that's going to respect me, someone that demands respect, someone that all of the characteristics that I list of my ideal customer. So if I'm looking at my ideal customer, I want you guys to kind of consider, if you've done this before, I want you to kind of consider, what is your customer base? What is the customer base that you really want to work with? Do you want to be in a home for 4 hours? I don't. Do you want to be in a home for 3 hours? I don't want to do that. That is not what I want to do. I want someone that's going to make quick decisions, that's going to listen intently, that's going to be open, that's going to be curious, that really wants to save money, that wants the predictability, that wants all of the values that solar gives them, whether it's certainty, predictability, freedom, quality of life. I want someone that these values are going to resonate with. I don't want the people that I have to push and pull and push and pull, and the people that I have to spend 3.5 hours with, or 3 hours with, or 4 hours with, or whatever the time frame. I don't want the customers that are going to be like bugging me as soon as I leave the house. They start texting me. I don't want those types of customers. So if I don't want that, I'm not concentrating on what I don't want. I want to concentrate what I do want. What is it that I want? I want someone that makes decisions quickly. I want someone that's feeling some pain. I want someone that's going to be open and willing and going to listen to what I have to say. I want somebody that's in a position that's going to allow them to make decisions to get out of the pain and into a better, well-formed outcome in their own life. These are the things that I want. And by the way, too, you can list, I would suggest that you start with 20 characteristics, but if you list 50, don't feel bad. Don't get very specific though, because if you get very specific, I want a customer that's got red hair and freckles. Dude, good luck. Good luck. That's a needle through a haystack. So don't get so specific that it will exclude 90% of the population. Get those people, use characteristics and things that are very common. If the meta programs really resonate with you, if you recognize your own meta program, this is probably going to be a customer that you really want to do business with because you can really communicate very effectively with them. So now you want to be able to design some sort of a customer that really, really, really you resonate with, right? And so whatever that looks like. Most people, except for us, think about all of the stuff they don't want, right? I just rattled off a bunch of stuff that I don't want. Like 3.5 hours because it's so recent. I'm still emotionally fatigued from last night. But if you think of the context like this, you really want to be thinking about what is my ideal customer? What is it? What characteristics do they exhibit? Like, what's their emotional state? Now, if you know what the emotional state they have to be in to buy, you know, just like we did the Wednesday training, what emotional state you want them to transition to. So maybe you start with a painful problem state, and then you transition them to an open, curious, or desirable state. They want the value proposition. So now we want to transition them into whatever emotional state gets them open to buying, right? So as you know this, you program your unconscious to actively look and find this type of customer base. The thing is that everybody on the planet is usually operating from some sort of programs that we didn't consciously choose. We pick them up from being raised. We pick them up from people that we surround ourselves with. We pick them up from our experience, which usually most of our experience isn't something that we really want. The most of our past experience is not something that we want. So now we want to recall and we want to anchor ourselves to an emotional experience that was desirable. That's something that had the well-formed outcome. And you want to consider, well, what did that look like? How did I feel? How did they feel? What was the conversation like? What was this like? And you guys want to be able to design it just like that. So are you going to find every single customer is going to fit in this context? You would if you had non-negotiables, like I only work with these customers, that might exclude some of these people. But the thing is you find whatever you're looking for. So maybe these people that you've been meeting, maybe they're this type of people, but you haven't communicated effectively to these types of people to get them into that position of that ideal customer base. So something to consider is being intentional and consciously aware of the types of customers that we're bringing into our lives, right? Be consciously aware. Consciousness, bringing the unconscious conscious is the first step to getting what you want. Most of those programs are running continuously and they're loops and they continue to see if you're finding the same sort of customers, let's take Trey, for example, combative customers that want to argue. Like, why would someone find a customer that continuously wants to fight and argue? Why would someone do that? There's some sort of good, positive intention behind that, by the way, too. So and I'm picking on Trey a little bit because I know that he likes to kind of get in arguments with customers, right? What I want to ask you is there's some sort of positive intention behind that. If we can find out the positive intention, well, what was the positive intention with finding a customer that's combative and wants to argue? Maybe you want to feel superiority. I don't know what it is. Find the positive intention, and then you would say, is this getting me closer to what I want? What is my macro well-formed outcome? No, it's not. So the positive intention behind this was I want to feel superior. Well, can I roll I want to feel superior or I want to win it? I want to win into finding the right customer base. Yes, you can. You just have to program this into your unconscious that you are fulfilling that intention with that particular customer. You have to roll the positive intention with not getting what you want, but there's some sort of positive intention. Essentially, you are getting what you want. You're just not actively, consciously programming it. And you got to tie that into getting what you want. Right? At the end of the day, everybody here on the call should always be focusing on exactly what they want. You can consider some of the stuff that you don't want, but that's not something you want to dwell on because what you think about, you bring about. So if those people that are like, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, I don't want this, they always get that. And they're like, why do I always get this? And then like they ask themselves an unresourceful question and they're like, their brain's going to answer 50 different reasons why they always get that. You find those people that ask themselves these unresourceful questions, and you're like, dude, you're asking yourself a stupid question. Why would you ask yourself a stupid question? Ask yourself a stupid question, you're going to get a
Stupid answer.
answer. That's right. You get a stupid answer. So be very cautious about the questions you ask yourself because you're going to get the answer to them. Whatever question you ask yourself, whatever question you answer yourself, they're all obviously going to get some sort of an answer. So we want to make sure that we're asking ourselves the resourceful questions. How do I get what I want? What is it that I want? Do I have it very clearly identified what it is that I want? Here's the other thing. You don't attract, you attract the people of who you are. So let's get in context. So my thing is that I used to I used to find the best deal and I'd go shop around and I'd find the best deal which usually came with price. And so I'd find the cheapest price. That's what I thought the best deal was, cheapest price. The problem with that software that was installed is I'd find the cheapest price and I'd have to pay for it twice. And so when I started selling, I always thought that I had to be the cheapest price. And I would find those customers that wanted the cheapest price. So like I'd always find these customers that were like that. And I'm like, why do I continuously see this in my life? And I realized at that point in time that that's the type of buyer I am. So if you guys have ever listened to Grant Cardone, he's like, dude, no matter what, you're going to find that potential client that's like you. So whatever characteristics that you have when you buy, if you have those types of characteristics that you want to do in spreadsheets, graphs, and maps, those are the types of key people that you're going to find. If you're going to find that, if you want that type of, if you're that type of person that buys the cheapest, the absolute cheapest deal, those are the type of customers that you're going to find. If you're that type of customer that's going to argue and fight with people, you're going to find that exact same sort of customer. So knowing that, what we have to do is if we want to design this is also our own specific design. We have to design these character traits inside of ourselves. So maybe you want a customer that's open and curious and receptive to the idea. Well, that means if you're going to be buying something, you got to be open and receptive to some sort of an idea, despite who it comes from. Do you have to exercise some sort of emotional awareness to make sure you're not getting ripped off? Absolutely. But the thing is if you find the character traits time and time and time again, whether you're at the doors or at the kitchen table, and it's the same characteristics, and you're not really comfortable and you don't like those, and you see the commonalities in these patterns, you've got to really consider what is it that part of myself that continuously finds this specific type of customer? Why? Why do I have to find this specific type of customer? So in buying cheap stuff, this was my story. In buying cheap stuff, I always got cheap work and I got some half-ass work and I was always pissed off and there was always created some sort of contention and there was some drama that followed. So I'd be pissed off. I got shit work for cheap prices, which was to be expected at this point in time. And then I'd be this in this emotional turmoil. So I had to change some characteristics with myself, how I bought items. So I couldn't be cheap. I couldn't be like looking for the cheapest deal. So then I started basing my buying decisions on price, quality, and service. I don't want to pay the highest price. I certainly don't want to pay the lowest price because there's a cost in buying the lowest cost, right? So what I had to do is I had to find the sweet spot, price, quality, and service. I'm okay paying a little bit more for something if I know that I'm going to get good quality service or good quality product. And so this is how I started making buying decisions. I started impulsively buying things when I had never done that before. I know this is kind of, some of you guys might be impulsive buyers and blowing all your cash, and this might be problematic. Maybe this is something else you got to look at. Don't look at this from my story. Look at this from your own set of lenses. What is it? What kind of buyers am I attracting? Why am I attracting these buyers? And what kind of buyer am I? What kind of buyer am I? And am I the ideal buyer that I'm looking for in solar? So some of you guys, like my thing was like buying cheap prices and calling 3 or 4 companies and getting all the quotes. And I wasn't as bad as like what we would call the cultural, those particular engineer types. But at the end of the day, I had to change my buying tendencies. And so I started working on myself and changing the way that I bought things, buying price, quality, and service all bundled in one. If I recognize something from the first time that I talk to somebody, if I recognize it's a good value, I'm going to buy it. So, like, if I recognize something, and I'm going to trust people a little bit more. I'm going to stop distrusting people, which I always thought people were trying to take advantage of me. And then so I'd always find these customers that I always think I was taking advantage of them. So now I had to start changing my own personal characteristics to meet and exceed what I was looking for inside of a context of the clients. And so this is what I started doing. I started finding all of these character traits that really would exhibit, and I started identifying these things. And then I just started making sure that this was not only just part of what I was looking for, but it was also part of my behavior. So whatever I look for, I find. And so now I look for these characteristics that would really make these people good buying customers. So there's some parts that you're going to uncontrol if you're a closer and someone's setting you appointments and you're running into the same sort of appointment. This is something that you could work on that setter with. Hey, like, dude, like what's going on? Like, what kind of buying tendencies do you have? This is where the leadership really comes into play. Like, what we're seeing this, and this. I see these specific patterns with the customers that we're meeting. Why is that we continuously see these things? So, and then we're going to ask ourselves, like, what is it about ourselves that why we continue to attract these types of customers? And then we identify those characteristics, and then we start changing ourselves. It's about not Newtonian law. We're not trying to change. You can't change anybody else. You can have leverage to change somebody else, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about grasping the control. The control we have is to change our own characteristics and our own being. And if we change our own being, then the outside world, the lenses change, and we see the world from a different light. Does this make sense? Do you guys understand this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So,
Kind of
so
like you track the energy you give off.
yeah. So some of the times when I talked about my own personal story about buying cheap shit, and by the way, if you're in a cell with me, when I'm at the kitchen table, I'm going to tell people about my solar story and keep my house at 79 degrees and bumping the upstairs at 89. And I'm going to say, like, well, listen, these characteristics kind of came from my mom. She'd drive all over town to save 2 cents a gallon of gas. Literally. She is like the most frugal person on the planet, dude. She's fucking insanely frugal, like cheap, fucking cheap. I mean, insanely cheap. And so that pre-programmed, preconditioned is like ingrained in my mind. So I had to delete that program and reinstall new programs. And so when I tell you guys, like most of the programs, the unconscious programs that we have that are operating, that are our operating system, they're things that we didn't choose. They're things that we actually picked up on as kids or even as adults when we're around a group of people. It's a general consensus that we'll become like those people unconsciously or consciously. We will make decisions that will be in alignment with the people that we were around. This is why it's very, very, very important that when we're around a new group of people and we're designing our lives, that we make sure that we exhibit, whether we're the only ones, that we exhibit the characteristics that we truly, truly believe in that will set us up to be the most successful or whatever the paradigm that you guys have to making sure that you guys are getting and being and doing and having what you want and living up to the best version of yourself. This is the ultimate level of accountability. Because if you have accountability with yourselves, then you're going to see that same reflection back to you from the outside world. Do you guys understanding this? Do you understand
Yeah.
how our own self-reflection our own self-image, it will continue, the life will reflect back to us.
Yes.
So when we talk about kind of designing, so what I would suggest for everybody on here, I would suggest that you do 20 characteristics of a good client. This is a good customer. So this is going to be your ideal customer. And then what we want to kind of consider though now too is like if we're thinking about our customers, well, if you're going to scale and build a badass 7-figure business, is now we're going to think about, well, what kind of types of people am I attracting into my organization? Who am I attracting close to me that I can help be a better person and be a better image of themselves? Like what type of characteristics do they have? So now this is going to go down into more than just designing our customer base. Let's really consider some long-term implications. Long-term implications about like what type of leaders do you want to be and what's your ideal sales rep that you can help develop and become an absolute savage badass. Like what does that look like? Most of you guys don't design this. Most of us, and I'll be honest with you, for the longest time, I would throw shit at the wall and hope that it stuck. And so I'd invest all my time and my energy into these people that had no intention of ever doing anything with their lives, or especially with the tools and stuff that I gave them. So one of the things that I did is I made a decision. I'm not going to work with people that don't fucking take this serious. I'm not going to work with people that don't have ambition, people that aren't committed, people that aren't disciplined, people that aren't coachable, people that aren't loyal. I refuse to work with those people. So sometimes when we bring people on, I wait to see their action, because everybody can give you a good lip service and tell you who they are, but it's their fruits and how we'll know them. We'll know them by their actions. So somebody comes on, I'm going to go hard. Dude, I'm so committed. And then all of a sudden they don't do shit. Like, dude, those aren't your types of people. Point in view is the Matt guy I recruited. Dude, this guy was fucking perfect. Dude, he was a collegiate athlete for 6 years. He was knocking doors. I saw him out knocking doors by himself. He had initiative. Like, I had a conversation with this guy on the doors. We were talking for like 2 hours. I made a connection with him. And I was like, this guy is absolutely perfect, dude. This guy is saying all the right shit. He's got his good head on his shoulders. He's fucking successful. He's running real estate shit. And then I hired this guy, and then, dude, he's fucking putting 1 day in a week. And so, like, just 2 days ago or 3 days ago, he didn't show up at the Monday morning meeting. He didn't show up at the meeting last week. I was like, dude, listen, bro, you're not holding the standards. Like, I can't have you not hold the standard. I had to let the guy go. So I literally fired the guy. Then he somehow miraculously got an appointment yesterday or a couple days ago that Justin closed. To, like, I'm not going to keep these guys on because they're not the types of people I'm looking for. Does he embody all the characteristics? Yes, but except one. That's the hardworking characteristic. Like, anybody I want to work with, they have to be a hard worker. If you're not a fucking hard worker, I don't care what type of talent you have. What I've found is that you can have all the badass characteristics I'm looking for, but if you don't have hard working in the characteristic, you're going to be a fucking shitbag. And in fact, it's a bigger disappointment to work with these people that have all these talents and all these skills, but don't apply them. This is the most frustrating thing on the planet for me, because we can always find these fucking people that have this incredible amount of talent and potential in them, but then they don't fucking work. Like, it's wild. And we know that if they just put one foot in front of the other, these guys would be ultra highly successful. And by the way, here at True Grit, we've had countless amount of motherfuckers that have had incredible amount of talent. Incredible. I can think of 5 or 6 guys right now that had incredible amount of talent. But then when it came to putting one foot in front of the other and doing the work, they paid me good lip service, but they could never fucking put the pieces together and actually do the deal. And then you have people that struggle, that don't have the talent, that have to foster the talent, that have to achieve the talent, that have to be able to develop the skill set, and they fucking have work ethic. So, like, the number one ingredient for me to find with somebody is going to be ambitious. So if they're ambitious, they're going to put is synonymous between hardworking. If you're ambitious, you're going to put fucking one foot in front of the other and you're going to go to work. Like, ambition is like, if I'm ambitious, it's that if I have that characteristic, I'm going to outwork everybody. That's my idea of ambition. I want more. I am willing to do whatever it takes to get more. And so for me, those are one of the characteristics that I would challenge everybody on here to look for. Yes, there's incredibly amazing, talented people out there. There's fucking people with just incredible amount of skills. But if they don't have that ingredient, they're not going to work out. They're going to come here. They're going to be tourists. They're going to be like trying to do this and doing this. And they're going to be divided, one foot in this opportunity, one foot in this opportunity, piss all over this opportunity, right? So that's what I'm talking about. It's like, if you're not fully committed and pot committed and putting and doing and actually putting in the work, then you piss all over this opportunity. So one of the characteristics, my number one characteristic, is going to be ambition. Ambition is the number one characteristic I look for. If you can be ambitious, this will be your why. This will be your driving force. This will make you go knock doors when it's cold. This will make you knock doors when it's hot. This will make you knock doors when you got your ass kicked for a week. That ambition will pull you, push and pull you to be a better version of yourself. And you can develop the skills along the way. So I haven't always been a fucking incredible, amazing sales guy. What I have had is ambition. What I have had is the innate desire to outwork everybody and develop my skills along the way. So when you outwork everybody, you don't have to have skills. You will develop the skills just by the consistency compounded by time will equal you better results. And what you'll find is that if you continuously do that, what'll happen is you'll develop the skills. Now you develop fucking skills with work ethic, you're deadly. Then you become 1% of the population. 1%. When you talk about the 1%ers, what is it? What's the commonality with these guys? Well, they have skill and they have work ethic. And both of those are in alignment with each other, which makes them successful. Like it's about modeling proven practices. Any top 1% in any industry is always going to have those same sort of ingredients. You can look for any industry anywhere and you can see the commonalities. So you could maybe make it to the 20% if you just have the skill, but you don't have the work ethic. You might make it to the 20% depending on how much you're willing to work. But I would say that those people that have the talent that aren't giving it 100%, it's a worse thing to be than to be the lower 80% and fucking outwork everybody. I'm going to say because that's within our control. Some of the things that we have, everybody's been given a certain set of talents and stuff when they're born, certain characteristics. Other characteristics can be fostered, but there's a certain amount of people, if you're gifted with genetics and you're a really good fucking sports player and you're not playing sports, I think it's a fucking waste. You know, if you're gifted with this incredible brain where you can memorize shit and then you're not going to actually take shit seriously, whether you're going to do accolades at school or whatever, like I think that's kind of a fucking waste because think of how many other people would fucking kill to have that sort of talent. How many people covet that talent? They would love to have that talent because they know they outwork everybody, but there's something that they don't know. That's kind of my story with like looking at the outsides of people and seeing them be successful and be like, these motherfuckers don't work as hard as me. What's the difference? What's the difference? Like, how do I develop that skill? But I got to be honest with you guys, because we're all hard workers, we can all develop those skills, those talents that people naturally have. All of us on the call here today, we can develop those. We can develop the skill set. We compound work ethic by time. We will all develop the skill set. And I can see a testimony in that with everybody on the call today. Everybody on the call today maybe didn't start out with, you had all had certain amount of talents. But what I've seen is that when you compound the time over the energy, is that eventually you guys will develop the skills. And then you become deadly. Then you become the 1%. And then the great thing about this is ever evolving and changing. If you just outwork everybody, you will be successful. So I was reading an article about Elon Musk. He's like, and they're like, how do you do all this stuff? He's like, I just outwork everybody. The guy fucking sleeps at Tesla. Like, dude, I can't think of a better. Does he have talent? Absolutely. Does he have a fucking huge brain? He's probably he's smarter than all of us. Sometimes people consider he's probably an alien. Absolutely. But you know what he compounds this with? If he just did nothing with that and he was like playing fucking Dungeons and Dragons and video games all day, how useful would those talents be? Would he bring us Tesla? Would he bring us SpaceX? Would he bring us a boring company? Would he be having ambition to go to the fucking Mars and doing all of these businesses that will make Mars successful? No, he wouldn't have done any of that. And that fucking incredible amount of talent would be absolutely wasted. And it really goes back. There's a parable in the Bible and it talks about the guys with the talents. And he said, one guy, he gave him 5 talents. One guy, he gave 3 talents. And he gave one talent to. And the master came back and the talents are coins or whatever. Right. And so he came back and you can look at the like this as a talents. And the one guy with 5, he money changed and he made another additional 5 and he said, here, master, I have 5. And the other guy that had 3, he made 3 and then he fucking made 3 and then, or he made 2 and he gave it to him and the master says, well done, my faithful servant. And then the guy that had 1 was scared because he only had 1. He went and hid it. And then when the master came back, he's like, I was scared to lose it. I didn't even fucking risk what I had. And the master took it away, gave it to the guy that had 5 and said, you're a fucking bad servant. So like, it doesn't matter where we start out on the talent skill, right? It matters like, what talents do you have? And what talents can you foster? I'm not of a fixed mindset. I'm of a growth mindset. I know and understand from my own hard-fought won experience that we can all develop the talents necessary to be successful in whatever we endeavor to do. So if we know that, like, dude, it's not a fixed mindset. We're not like, oh, I was born this way, so I'm a victim and I'll never be able to challenge the social norms. I'll never be able to challenge the status quo because I was born like this. That is a bunch of crock of shit. But if you're designing these characteristics, I went off on a tangent. Sorry, I went off a tangent for you guys. It was a good story, and plus I leveraged the Bible story. But what I want to tell you guys, if you're looking at creating a team, or if you're thinking about creating a future or creating legacy, I would design a very specific rep that you're going to resonate the most with. And by the way, too, like just a common denominator and something that we can model is like, I guarantee you that that person will have to have work ethic, which is going to be, they're going to have to be ambitious. They're going to have that killer instinct. So if they don't have that killer instinct, you got to ask yourself, can I develop this killer instinct? Is it possible for them to have this? And what would it take for them to develop that? So what I look for is people that are fucking ambitious, people that want more, people that are willing to do whatever it takes. If you give me that one ingredient, I can build anybody up because it's not me, it's them. We all have the own resources. It's not about outside influence. Outside influence will help us foster these characteristics. But at the end of the day, like if you can just find those people that are ambitious, that want more, like, dude, these people are going to be successful. Case in point, Jeremy has been using the call list that we call them. Justin, Kevin. Jeremy landed 3 people that I had a conversation with. Justin, Kevin. So 2 of the people I had a conversation with, I passed them. I have a test that I designed for these guys to see if they're going to be successful. If they fail the test, I don't work with them. I developed the test of my own, and I found that these common characteristics, if they pass the test, they've got a good chance of making it. Will they make it? Is it a guaranteed? No, but they've got a better chance. So 2 of the guys that really wanted to come out, that have actually been blowing me up since I had a conversation, both failed the test. And these are guys that I had a conversation with. I was like, oh, these guys might be good, but they both failed the test. And then he sent me this 16-year-old kid. And I was like, dude, 16, no, bro, this isn't going to work. Had a conversation with the guy, fucking, dude, the only reason I had a conversation with the guy, because I told Jeremy, before I talk to this guy, send him the test. Jeremy sent him the test. He fucking aced it. He aced it, 100%. So I had a conversation with this kid. Bro, this kid's fucking fire, man. This kid's like, dude, he's well-spoken. I wouldn't even think he's 16 years old. Dude, I would think this kid's got a good head on his shoulders. He was raised right. He's very, very ambitious. He's got all these good characteristics. So knowing that, this is a kid I want to dump time and energy into. He's living in Georgia. He wants to start making calls. This is something I would never consider before. But after talking to this kid and him acing the test, this is something I would consider. Just because having a conversation with this guy, I kind of understand these things. So sometimes it's just it's a process of elimination. Just like knocking doors, just like talking to customers and inside of customers' homes, it's kind of a process of elimination. So like if we can send somebody a test and they either pass or fail, and if they pass the test, we know these are the people that are worth investing our time, energy, and effort. If they don't pass the test, I don't think that they're really worth for me. It's like I'm to a point in my life that I no longer throw shit to the wall and hope that it sticks. Although some of you guys will get a little bit desperate because if you want a deal, like let's say you're setting appointments on the doors and that one customer is willing to make the appointment, but you know it's a fucking trash appointment. You know it's fucking shit, but you're so desperate to get the appointment because you live in you live in a mindset of scarcity rather than abundance. You're willing to set those appointments knowing that appointment has no intention of showing, or if they do show, that it's just a waste of fucking time, right? So working with people that aren't going to embody one of these characteristics, which is hard work or ambition, like this is just a waste of time for anybody to work with. And so I'm just going to be honest with you guys. Focus on the people that you can really help. Focus on the people that want to help themselves. Focus on the people that understand they have their own resources inside them. All we have to do is foster those and encourage those to see the best person emerge. Are you guys understanding kind of the context of what we're doing here? And I know as you
Yes.
listen, you understand what it is that we're exactly trying to design and create. And I think as you guys hear what I'm saying, you guys understand that there's specific people that would be good for us to work with, whether one-on-one, whether developing a team, and also specific people that we really want to get in front of. Does that mean that you guys don't set every appointment that you can? No. Set every single appointment that you can. But if you're more intentional about designing the specific customer base or the specific rep that you want to work with, what you'll find is that you find more and more of these people. You stop finding the people that are wasting your time. You stop investing in the people that have no intention of taking this to the moon. You start finding and attracting and designing the people that will really help. You will help be successful, and you'll in turn be successful. Because as a Zig Ziglar quote, you can get anything you want in your life as long as you're able to help other people get what they want. This is the key to success for everybody. And so whether we're breaking this down on the context of a customer base, or whether we're breaking this down in the context of a sales rep, of a team, someone that we're designing with our team, that applies in any sort of context, right? So one other thing I want to hit on before we're done here. Back into my notes here. So we covered well-formed outcomes, macro and micro. Ideal identity design. Some of you guys probably have parts of your identity that aren't conducive to finding good reps or to be able to finding good customers that you guys are going to work on. And then the other thing, that the homework for you guys is to write out. I know you've done this before. Most of you should have done this before, but write out the 20 characteristics for your ideal customer, and then go the extra mile and write out 20 characteristics of the best sales rep that you could find. Nadia and I were just having a conversation. I was like, I just need to find 20 people like me. Nadia's like, I need to find 20 people like me for my business. I'm like, well, you got to design that, babe. This is the stuff that you got to be able to do. You got to just be able to design that. So the other thing too is if you have a stronger concept of identity for yourself, you'll typically be able to envision the type of customer that you want. I want you guys to kind of envision yourselves as a great communicator who leads. So sometimes too is you've got to see yourself in the best version of yourself. You can't look from your past and anchor yourself to some of the mistakes and some of the situations we've had. We have to see ourselves in a greater light. This kind of goes back to the story of that we just had at church. What was it, 3 weeks ago with Gideon, and Gideon hiding and God calling him up, saying, "You great courageous hero." And the guy was hiding, and God saw him in the image of his potentialities and really encouraged him to be able to see that. So some of us need to imagine ourselves being that stronger version of ourselves. Don't think and anchor yourself to some of the mistakes. We all have plenty of mistakes if we look for them. We also have plenty of successes that we've had. If you dwell and think about the successes you have, and you can catapult these into the future and imagine yourself living into that sort of concept of yourself, you will have a much greater chance of success in whatever you do. Seeing the greatest version of yourself. We all have a higher version of ourselves that we really need to be able to embody and see ourselves in. And as you see yourself in this, you will actually start to mold yourself and find the person, places, and things that will identify you as that sort of vision of yourself. You have to have certainty. You have to have confidence. You're going to have some sort of presence when you're talking to customers. Certainty sells. When you're talking to sales reps, you're telling them your own personal story. Everybody here on the call has their own personal story. Personal story. It's a hero's journey. It's like this. It's up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. It's like I came to this point. I went down here. I came to this point. I went down here. I was just on the call yesterday, and I was like going through my whole gamut of my experience to kind of design these type of ads we're going to do. And I didn't realize this. And Nate was like, dude, like you have a complete, like you have the hero's journey. Because even when I got clean, by the way, I celebrated 19 years being clean on Wednesday. But like, as I've gotten clean, the thing is that I've been through a bunch of shit that I've experienced. So it's not like I got clean and I lived happily ever after. I don't know if that exists. Maybe it's a perception of that. But like the thing is that we come to a spot where we finally rise above, and then what happens is we're continuously giving challenges to face so that we can continue to foster growth and character, right? Growth and expansion is really what it comes down to. And instead of framing ourselves and looking at life as hard, if you frame your life as hard, what do you think you'll get? If you watch these videos and everybody's telling you life is fucking hard, you're going to get challenged, you're going to get knocked down, and you embody that, what do you think you're going to continue to receive?
A hard life.
it doesn't matter. Maybe that you look at it and it's all relativity. Like some people, we all have fucking luxury problems. If you're living in the United States today, in my opinion, if you live in the fucking United States of America, dude, every problem that you have is a luxury problem. Compare yourself to living in some fucking village in the continent of Africa. You know what I'm saying? Imagine living in some fucking place where you just, dude, just look at it from relative example. Like, dude, we think of our problems today as like these big things. Fuck, dude, if you compare yourself to somebody else that's got it worse than you, you're always going to find that, dude, my problems today are all luxury problems. These are first world problems. And so you look at life from a little bit different perspective. But I know like a lot of us, including like Andy Elliott and David Goggins, life sucks, life is hard, blah, blah, blah. Like I refuse to look at my life like that because I've looked at life like that before. And then guess what? No matter what, I always found that life was always like that. Whether it was, I don't think it was really that, but the meaning that I signed it was life is hard. I fucking encounter fucking hard shit. But instead, imagine framing your life as looking at life as a game. If you look at life as a game, what are you going to do? You're going to go compete. You're going to have fun. It's a fucking, but at that point, you're going to look at life as a win or lose. Like at the end of the day, it's the metaphors that we tell ourselves which create our lives of who we are today. So like you want to be very cautious, and these are meta programs that run in the background, which will continuously find these things. So a little bit off topic there. I think for you guys, the idea behind this is that designing the life that we want, designing the people that we want to interact with, designing our customer base, designing our friends, our family. This is our chosen family. If somebody's falling a little bit short and not holding the standard, we pull them up. We hold them accountable and we say, listen, this is unacceptable. What do you want to do? This is what we want to do. And we create the existence that we want. So for me, it's like refusing to work with people that no longer takes you serious. Like I refuse to work with people like that. I only want to work with people that are fucking embody the characteristics that I've designed. And so my standard is like working with these types of people. That's the standard that I have today. And so now I find those standards. I look for those standards. I identify these sort of characteristics in each one of you guys. And so like that, what we think about, we bring about. And where attention goes, what does it say?
Energy flows.
All right, there we go. So like knowing that we get and find the things that we absolutely design. And if we're intentional about designing the type of outcomes that we want, the macro outcomes, the micro outcomes, you guys will always have a tendency to find it. Whether or not that we're actually finding, we look for the reasons that will be coincide with the meaning that we give it. And so when we're intentional about designing our customer base, designing the people that we surround ourselves with, we will find those types of people. Those people will just, through some sort of shift in the universe, those people will come into your life. You're going to find these customers that are easy and effortless. You're going to find these customers that are intuitive, that just understand these things, that want these things, that have pain points, that want to be able to come to navigate to a much easier solution. So I love you guys. Let's finish the week strong. We've got today and tomorrow. If you don't have a deal right now, fucking go get a deal. Have some non-negotiables. Some of the thing is too, as we talk about the non-negotiables, the standard should be like, I get a deal every week, no matter fucking what. No matter what, I get a deal every week. This should be a non-negotiable. A non-negotiable. So it's Wednesday. You don't have a fucking deal. You should be like, dude, I'm getting a deal. Where's my deals at? Where's my deals? I know there's my deals out here. Where are they? I know I'm going to get a deal because it is a non-negotiable. So the thing I want you guys to do as you go, I don't care if you do it tonight. I don't care. You have to do the exercises today. 20 characteristics of the ideal customer. If you did these a long time ago, you have a new lens on life. You can actually design a little bit better customer. 20 characteristics of your ideal customer. 20 characteristics of the people that you want to work with. Put some thought into it. Consider this. No less than 20. Don't be fucking absolutely specific on characteristics that aren't that common. So I want to attract a fucking person that has red hair and freckles to work with. Good luck. You're going to be looking for a while. Like, make sure they're the common themes, but something that you really resonate. I want you guys to be intentional about this. I want you guys to really put some thought and effort in this, because I know where attention goes, Energy flows. Good
Energy
job.
flows.
All right, you guys. Love you guys. Have a good day, man. Let's go.
Let's go.
Thank you, Luke. Have a good one.
Badass, dude.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Luke.
everything.